Hi Zara, how are you?
Hi, Shahrukh. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing okay. So can you give us a short introduction about yourself before we get into talking about everything and anything which we want to talk about?
Yeah, sure. So I have been working in Pakistan for now the past 10 years,
Hmm.
and I am an advocate at the High Court. I predominantly work in Karachi, and I deal with a lot of family cases. Recently, I say recently, but in the past, I've been working on a lot of criminal cases, harassment, abuse, etc.
Hmm.
Food-centric cases as well. But as being litigated in the High Court, sort of take on any kind of case that comes to us,
Uh-huh.
property relations, etc. I chamber share with the tax practice,
Hmm.
so actually, Barrister Khalid Javed Khan Sahab. So he, of course, is now the DP, and I am just so I've done a bit of tax work with him too.
All
Um,
right. All right. So one thing which I don't think you mentioned is you're the CEO of the Women's Lawyer Association.
yes, I am.
All
So
right.
I think you seem to know more about me than I do myself. No, I'm the CEO of the Women's Association as well.
So being the CEO of the Women Lawyer Association, I wanted to have you on to talk about the sort of hardships and the struggles women face in law, because generally Pakistan is a very patriarchal society. It's not really an equal playing field, and law is an even in law it just magnifies tenfold. If you look at international societies like the UK and the US, even there's a little bit of a discrimination towards women. The female lawyers and female judges um, aren't really in the league as in the same league as men in terms of numbers and the opportunities given. So I wanted to have you on to talk about some of the hardships you face. Let's start off with the Women's Lawyer Association. And you said it was founded 2 years ago, but I wanted to kind of hone in on the purpose behind it and what the mandate is. What point is it driving forward? What does it do?
So, okay, I'll start off with a little background because that will actually make more sense in
Hmm. Hmm.
building up the WLA within those association and how it
Yeah.
came about. So I moved back in September 2011. I was working in the UK, and I've been there for 9 years
Hmm.
before studying, etc. And so I came as a very enthusiastic, young girl saying, right, I want to make a difference. I want to help the society. I want to help my people. I
Hmm.
want to try and do something which in the legal profession in my field, which would be, which
Every
would
lawyer's initial dream is yeah.
absolutely. And the fact that I worked in England and I'd gotten that exposure, I felt that, maybe some changes could be made and,
Mhm.
what I mean, and we could progression to try and progress, have society as a whole to progress
Mhm.
forward.
Mhm.
I think, you think because law is one of the basic foundations of any society, right? So
Yeah,
you
for
think
sure.
how it can be done. Anyhow, so I came back and so I've had a very mixed experience. I've been very lucky. I
Mhm.
won't lie, but I've also I had to face hardships in a very not even discriminatory, just in a very different manner. And I'll
Mhm.
tell you how.
Yeah.
So, I said I want to be a litigator. I've done the bar. I've done the New York. I'm an attorney at law New York. So
Mhm.
I don't want to sit in a corporate job. I've done it. I've tried it. It's not my cup of tea.
Uh-huh.
Therefore, I was asked in my first job to just sit and draft all the time.
Mm.
And that I found to be very disturbing because I
Yeah.
annoying to be honest, because I just couldn't hack it. I
Yeah,
didn't want it.
there's a
But
little bit of a notion which everybody has that the court isn't the place for a woman,
yeah,
because and people justify it with like by saying ke bahut gandi jagah hai, it's really messy, and the type of people who, at least I don't know about the higher courts, but the lower courts, that's the excuse which is given. So I'm sure you probably went through all those excuses ke nahi, nahi, it's better if you don't go.
no, absolutely. I so basically I was I was put under the gun because I was told, oh, आपका जब तक license नहीं आता high court का आपको
हाँ.
license नहीं लेके जाएंगे.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I don't have anyone who belongs to the legal profession in my family, so I
Mm-hmm.
had no idea. And I would just say, "Ji sir," "Ji
Yeah,
sir, Ji sir,"
yeah, yeah, yeah.
when you're very new to the whole thing. Anyhow, so I had to literally fight my way through and
Mm-hmm.
taken, I need to go to court. So then I was taken to go twice a week or maybe thrice a week.
Okay.
And I would like to say that in my first job of 2.5 years, apart from maybe honing my drafting skills, a bit of research, and finding law books myself. And I see this, because I was not, my employer knew that I had just come back from England. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, even if I had a generalized overview of what was happening in the workings of the legal system in Pakistan, there was no guidance whatsoever. So
Yeah.
like, I came across the Kanun Shahadat, thankfully, in the first 2 months of my being there, and I said, "Oh, ye bhi hota hai," because a lot of senior lawyers do not conduct evidence proceedings. They think.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that kind of stuff I faced. I was told also that you are you belong to a certain family, so आपको तो काम करने की जरूरत नहीं है. आप
Uh,
क्यों आप क्यों कोर्ट जा रही हैं? किसी जिसको जिसको इसका हक होता है उसको कोर्ट उसको ये नौकरी मिलनी चाहिए. And
just
this
completely dismissing your wants, your needs, and everything. No. Uh,
whatever wherever I belong from, I want to make it my own name, right? And
yeah.
that is my, it's मेरा हक है वो. मैं
Uh-huh.
जो कर सकता हूँ, आपको मुझे नहीं रखना, that's up to you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are things I face. Then I won't go job wise, so then that'll just be too long. But I'm just saying
Mhm.
overall, like then I've also had to face sometimes someone say, "Oh, but why is your mom calling you? 4 6 p.m. to discuss something." I mean, so and you say, "Okay, because I am the eldest child and I
Uh-huh.
need." So there's things like that, which I mean, I guess it's also it could be relevant to males as well. But you have family commitments, which you can take. You can take a phone call during office. But because
Yeah.
you were a woman, you were there, and I would work long hours. So a lot of people have issues with long hours. I never did. I've been
Mm-hmm.
in office at 3 a.m. in the morning. I have once had to finish a paper till 5 because of not my own fault. But hey, you do it. It's part of
Yeah.
the job. It's part of the profession. You learn. So
Mm-hmm.
ये चीजें होती हैं, but I feel that I was lucky because I had the permission to be out till late,
Yeah.
or
Yeah. Yeah.
that could be a hurdle as well because that is a hurdle, right? A lot of people find that to be the thing. But
Uh-huh.
apart from that, I've never been taught. There are law firms you find which teach young lawyers now, male or female, and I think that is brilliant.
Yeah.
I will into that, so that's where I was unlucky. But then, when you sort of उर्दू में कहते हैं हाथ पाँव मार के अपनी पहुंच जाते हैं,
Uh-huh.
so that was an experience in itself. I
Uh-huh.
said, "Okay, chalo, let's do my research, let's find out what I like, what I want to do, and how I'm going to progress."
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was great. Also, I made some really good choices. There were some forms which I was told कि आप यहाँ ना जाएं बिल्कुल भी, but I knew that my opportunity had to be able to argue.
Okay.
So what I did was I said I'm going to spend a year and a half only in the lower courts, right?
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
not going to go to the high court. I'm going to argue each and every case of the firm that I was working for,
Hmm.
and I'm going to make myself really good there, because that is a
Yeah.
learning. And I'm not saying I'm great now, but you sort of progress, right?
Yeah. I
And
mean, when you think about the structure, that's what it's supposed to be. You're supposed to go into the lower courts. You're supposed to hone your skills there. You're supposed to get better, and then the 2 year grace period before you get into the high court. That's what it's for. Now in the situation of everybody, like even myself, there's this notion that bar karlo, you can bypass the 2 years of the waiting period or whatever, and you go directly into the higher courts, which shouldn't be the case. It
not
shouldn't be like that at all, because then you're going in blindly without any experience.
absolutely.
So yeah, I'm sure that helped a lot. The fact that you had already, and there would be some sort of recognition, because there is a bit of an overlap. So when you went into the higher courts, I'm sure if not the judges, the lawyers would be like, oh, she probably knows, she's really good in the lower courts.
There were quite a few. Yeah, that is actually correct. There were quite a few, especially in the banking court. So you have senior
Mm-hmm.
lawyers come to the banking court, especially, because that is a specialized court.
Yeah, yeah,
Or there's banking offenses court, the NAV court, there's a CNS court, which is like the drug regulatory court.
yeah, yeah.
And so courts like that, you will. And I was very lucky that I got that experience. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I was told the first day I was going to city court, okay, you're going to be scared and don't be. I promise you, and I hope anyone who is, a struggling young lawyer wanting to come into the profession hears this. The city court is amazing. Okay,
Yeah.
it's really dirty. You might see a few guys with like handcuffs on their hands, but honestly, it is amazing. It is. You learn there. You even if your procedurally you learn there. You learn how to argue on a case. You learn
Hmm.
how to deal with the judge. You learn how to deal with the clerk. You learn how to do everything.
Yeah.
And if you make a mistake, you are given that chance to sort of cover that mistake or
Uh,
rectify it. Like
uh,
you can
uh,
try. Or whereas in the high court, sometimes you just get like any lawyer, be it senior or junior, will get blasted for no reason, or
yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
for,
Yeah.
and then you have to go and file a million applications to try to fix it, right? So I think that's where you learn the most.
Hmm. Yeah. So now coming to the Women Lawyers Association. So tell me about that. How did it come into being, and was it just you who took that initiative forward, or did you find a couple of like-minded people and you kind of discussed it, and then that's how it came to being?
So, okay, so there's one thing that I'd always thought of. This is, when I joined the profession, that we had at that time when I joined, which is again 2011, we
Hmm.
only had one bar room, right? And
Yeah.
a bar
Yeah.
room, room, recreation room, just
Hmm.
in between the breaks or something. You didn't have.
Khana pina hota hai wahan, socialization. Yeah.
We had now that was just that one room. Now
Yeah.
there were a lot of women who were very uncomfortable to go and sit there.
Mm.
I did not have that problem. As I said, I've been lucky. We've been brought up in an environment, studied abroad, etc., and had that sort of exposure. Okay, it's okay to just sit
Yeah.
and go and sit in a room and
Yeah.
whatever
You learn how to speak to people, even if you're not learning about Pakistan or anything. You kind of realize, okay, this is how you speak to someone professionally, and all those things when you go abroad and study, at least. Which over here that might not happen, because over here I feel like a lot of the people who are offering LLBs, they still treat the way it's offered is still pretty much like A levels, where there's minimal interaction between your professors and stuff like that, which doesn't really help people develop into a profession which has a lot of lobbying, has a lot of speaking publicly, like, yeah.
happens. No, I think it's also just we also have social constraints, right?
Hmm.
When you're coming up when you're being brought up in an environment, especially if you, for example, even if you go to SM Law College, I mean, you have friends, people are interacting, but there's still that sort of, and this constraint is not. It's just it's a thing of society. I feel more than anything else.
Yeah. uh,
you know. So and what I saw was, okay, we had a room, but then apart from these, some women being uncomfortable, not wanting to really go and sit there,
mhm,
or not even having space at that time. Up to second wala bhi ho gayi, we have a second bar room. But another thing was that they felt that I felt that we had like a small, and I know this is what to talk about. We had a small, literally 2 by 2 toilet.
mhm,
That's where the girls would go in and remove the hijab, quickly fix the hijab, and then come back. Right?
mhm, mhm.
It was really tiny. It still is
Yeah.
very tiny.
Yeah, I'm
And
sure.
I thought, well, okay, and then this is something I thought at the back of my mind, never done anything about it. Until it came to a point, and then of course the second bar room also opened up, so we had more space. I won't
Mhm.
deny, but we still felt there was no space for women, so to
Uh-huh.
speak. A few like-minded women did come together. There's a lady called Zahrah Vayani, myself, Zara Tarek. We sort of laid the foundation of and Maria Ahmed. We sort of laid the foundation of the Women Lawyers Association that time. So we got together. We had lots of meetings. We met lots
Mhm.
of lawyers. We had like these sort of coffee meetups to try and
Yeah,
see if
yeah.
we were on the same page. And then we had a lawyer who's a bit senior than my year, someone Diaz. She joined in as well, and I mean, it was great. So then we had a list of founder members. We in the mean we said we need to get ourselves registered, right?
Mhm.
While that was happening until July 2017, Sarah Malkani and I, representing the association, we felt that we needed this common goal ASAP.
Okay.
It took a year and a half. We had to fight against all odds, get signatures done from
Mhm.
male members, from female members, go and literally sit at length outside the Chief Justice at that time, room, and he was very supportive. It was just the bar council head wouldn't come and help us, or they'd say, "क्या औरतों के लिए क्यों कमरा चाहिए? आप तो
अच्छा अच्छा
रिवाइवल पैदा कर रहे हैं. आप we are progressive in sin, and you want it to be, you want us to regress.
उल्टा
You want
yeah
us to
हाँ
anyway, बहुत मुश्किल से हमने कहा कि there was no prayer room. आप सोचो कि we had to go outside to the mosque to pray, outside the
oh
whole
okay
premise. So we said we need something. So we finally got that done. It was a breakthrough thing. We got our common room, we got the prayer room, we hold sessions there now. So it's great. So that's what we started off doing. Uske baad we said, okay, now our objective is to promote women in the profession. For them to, so when I came in, I said, I really didn't know that many people. I made friends myself. Like some people can't do that. Some people need some support system. Others just don't know. You feel like a headless chicken the first 6 months of being in the profession.
yeah I'm
Anyone.
sure yeah
So why not? And we've got a support system, someone that we complain to. Then of course harassment was something that is never addressed in the legal
yeah
profession in Pakistan, right? So Me Too movement was शुरू हो ही रही थी, but what happened was that we conducted interviews from a cross section of the lawyers to find out कि क्या होता है form. You know, I mean, I've been through harassment too, right?
yeah
But
yeah
I haven't been to that extent, and I could stand up and say, "आपने मुझे ये क्यों बोला कैसे बोला?" A lot of women can't do that, or they don't feel they can. They have the strength to face up to somebody else. So उस तरीके से we provided support system, and we thought, okay, this help कर देना. And so we hold small group sessions. So that's for development sessions. We call them development sessions for women. And
okay
what happens is that उसमें men are also, of course, totally allowed to come in, and there's no restriction. हम common room में hold करते हैं. We have senior lawyers, female or male, to come in and drafting, moving, legal research, stuff that we were never taught. We are literally teaching.
yeah
Attendance कभी कम होती है, कभी ज़्यादा, depending on timing, depending on some seniors are not allowing the juniors to come in during work hours. Because हमारे भी time restraints थे, right? We can't hold them every time on a Saturday, or because Saturday is working for us too, or we have
yeah
to
yeah
report.
timings are in the legal profession there's nothing set in stone it's a 9 to 5 thing yeah
Never. Or
yeah
like a 6 day week. Also, or 7 day a week actually.
yeah
But
yeah
what happens is that we've been holding Zoom sessions now during the pandemic. So we've held 2 Zoom sessions, and they've
that's
been
good
really good because we've had really great attendance. So yeah, so that's the basic thing of WLA. Our basic motive is just to be there for women, promote women, and sort of just have a stand in the whole legal fraternity
okay
as a whole, right? As a community.
Acha, so one thing that you mentioned before, where when you were trying to get the separate common room, the people from the bar council were saying that, why are you separating this? We're really progressive and stuff like that. And that might not be the case. But one question which kind of sits at the back of my mind is, would it not be better to integrate the WLA, or to integrate women into the bar council elections and stuff like that? Because from my knowledge, most people who stand up for the elections for bar council or any position, they're mostly male. So
So, sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, that's another thing. We have, that's also been said and decided that we will stand up in for judgeship as well as this. I mean, I still do not qualify for that, but age-wise, but there are a few of our members, a few of our board members actually, who do qualify. So they are going to actually, maybe inshallah become judges or be in the running for judgeship. So that's one thing. As far as we talk about the bar council, so the bar association, where we've all said that we want to, maybe in the next year or two, when we qualify, depending on our years of practice, the plan is to stand there. We stand for the elections. We have had a few ladies who've been a part of it. One was a member of WLA, but when I say a member, she wasn't an active member. She was just somebody who.
She was there, yeah.
But apart from that, we do have women, maybe not members of the WLA, but they have been part of the bar council in the past. And even this year, there's a lady called Humaira who's amazing. She's actually helped sort of things. So the one good thing about this year's bar association, and I will like to point that out, is that we've got a very progressive president, right?
That's good.
And
okay.
because of that, so he asked me personally, and then we had the lady Humaira who's part of the association as well. And we had training. We conducted training for
Mm-hmm.
women. So we had like Quran Dazi for women who had to travel to court with the on buses or on rickshaws, etc., and could
Mm-hmm.
not on public transport basically,
Mm-hmm.
or did not have a means of transport. And what happened was that we got 50 women bikes, so we got them
Oh, that's
motorbikes.
cool. Okay.
That to train them to ride bikes, which is
Uh-huh.
great.
Uh-huh.
Since the foundation helped us with that. At the moment of the pandemic, we're a bit short, 2 3 weeks behind.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
that's a great thing. I was learning myself because I thought, hey,
yeah.
I don't get the bike, but I'd rather learn because why not?
Yeah, why not? Yeah. All right, that's pretty cool. So another thing which I wanted to ask you about was you started your, let's say, professional um, kind of journey in law in 2011. So one thing I wanted to ask you was how stark of a difference is there between 2011 and 2020? Has there been quite a bit of progression? Obviously, you mentioned that the president of the bar council is a pretty progressive guy, yeah, pretty progressive guy, and he's helping a lot. But uh, when I look at the legal industry as a whole, I don't think there is obviously the fraternity itself, there's the judges and who are involved in that, but I think it's on a whole it's more of a cultural issue.
Yeah.
Like it's the people as well. Like there are a lot of examples where people just refuse to have a female lawyer, okay, or just completely discredit them again, okay, I don't want to have a female lawyer, ye kya mazak hai, etc., etc. So from 2011 to 2020, just a little bit of a comparison, what has changed and what has stayed the same?
Sure. So the first shock that I'd gotten was because when you work in England and you work in Pakistan, you feel
Mm-hmm.
like wow, So that was the first shock. But then when I came in, I was like, I felt there were fewer women
Mm-hmm.
in 2011,
Mm-hmm.
but there was still strong women there saying, we're going to argue our way out.
Yeah.
We're going to be successful. I feel that I think yes, you were maybe stared upon more. People
Mm-hmm.
don't recognize you, things like that, which are very common, unfortunately, even though you feel that they
Yeah.
shouldn't. Yes, I think we from 11 to 2020, profession overall has progressed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many more women, younger girls joining the profession, and they are determined, they are confident. I mean, it's also the mindset. We call it the millennial mindset, but to be fair,
Yeah.
like we have, it's true. Women are much more confident now, and
Mm-hmm.
because they're confident, they use that confidence. People respect more. People understand that this is they're going to be here now. Every office now has a lot of women working, apart from maybe one or two which do not hire women at all, which
Uh-huh.
I would not comment on because I have वो उनका सालों से आ रहा है rentals and everything and like
Uh,
so it's great because you see that the more women the people are more accepting judges. I'll be very honest again, I say I've been lucky because from the first time I my first case that I argued, the first
mm-hmm.
reported judgment that I got in the High Court of Sin. I also, by the way, I've argued in Quetta, I've argued in Lahore, I've got reported judgments there.
Mm-hmm.
I have never felt a judge look at me and say, ये तो लड़की है और मैं इसको या I
Uh,
want to give her the order that she wants
wants,
because
yeah.
if
Mm.
you're a bad lawyer, you won't get it anyway, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because you see, अब ये हो गया पहले था adjournment culture ज़्यादा था, अभी भी है in the high court. What happens is आपने adjournment करनी, you send your female associate, उनको she feels she's doing something, you feel that okay, you've done your
Yeah,
job.
okay, yeah.
Up here, a lot more are not only holding brief for getting adjournments, they're standing out there, they're being recognized, they're arguing, and I think that's great. As I said, we may have had one or two judges who maybe, who are जो गुस्से के तेज हैं, or and you'd feel that some females might not be able to take that. But
Mm-hmm.
to be honest, women have dealt with that too. So I think overall, it has changed, it's progressed. There's been more women. There's been more confidence within women. And I'd
Mm-hmm.
like to say WLA had a little bit of input in that also. Okay,
Yeah, yeah, sure.
there's a forum where you can come in and speak about your problem, which is I think.
All right, cool. I just want to touch on sexual harassment and any type of harassment done not just in the courts but in the workplace in general. And you said the WLA sort of deals with that. It's a platform, but are there any systems in place pre-existing the WLA which kind of help you deal with that? And if they are they kind of disregarded as a lot of laws are in over here? Or is there a thing that, okay, there's some sort of credibility if something happens, men or women, they do stand up, there's certain accountability that comes with that, or is that just not present?
So I'll say, yeah, keeping the WLA aside, we have a 2010 Harassment to Workplace Act, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that act was really been a life changing thing for a lot of people, I'll say. So,
Mm-hmm.
that legislation has a lot of value. It holds a lot of, yeah, a lot of weight, I'd like to say. Because the thing is that now you are, by that act, every office has to have some sort of a notice which states the act है, rights क्या होते हैं आपके,
Okay.
right?
Okay. Huh.
उसके अलावा the amount of clients, the amount of victims of harassment that I have represented before the ombudsman since,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's crazy. There's so many people who are aware of their rights, who want to make a difference, who want to sort of stand up for themselves against harassment, and they'll come in, they will approach a lawyer. But apart from that, within firms as well, you have internal committees being set up. You
Mm-hmm.
have basically the act is trying to be followed by especially the major organizations.
Okay.
Some law, if you go outside the legal profession, a lot of big firms, a lot of even smaller firms are now very aware of this act. And they
Okay.
know harassment. I mean, I've drafted so many harassment policies, so many
Mm-hmm.
sexual harassment policies for women. Now, preceding the act or preceding the whole uproar, the whole even the whole Me Too movement, so to speak,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, you would get harassed, you would go complain, and then you would be fired, or you would leave yourself because it got to a point where nothing would happen. Very
Uh-huh.
few firms would or offices would accommodate employees who would come up and file, a complaint to the boss or to the senior admin head or the HR head, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I think ये act की वजह से काफी progression हुई है, and उसकी वजह से a lot of people now know their rights, which is great because पहले नहीं था ये.
Sure.
I mean, I myself, like for example, if I went up and, in fact, my experience was great because I was basically just someone was a colleague kept on commenting on me being kashmiri and me being beautiful and God knows what not at what point. And it got to a point where I just could not hack it anymore because
Mm-hmm.
I was very strong within myself to put him down. But when I did go to my then employer, he didn't even he sort of sat down, told that guy, gave him a warning. When that same guy did something similar with another colleague of mine,
Uh-huh.
right very soon after, that man was fired. So
Oh, this was happening in your firm.
in my firm, 2000.
Okay. Okay.
So that
Okay.
that's something that you stand and think, oh wow, okay, that did happen too. So give credit where it's due. There are some
Yeah.
who are really great, who
Mm-hmm.
know how to handle this. But अब act की वजह से you follow that path.
Mm-hmm. I think
So
it's also a little bit to do with the fact that being a lawyer is a very literate profession. You have to do extensive studying on everything, and when you're studying law in Pakistan as well, you're not really studying law in Pakistan. You're first studying law in England and how it works there. So I think there must be some sort of, like any person who would go and start studying that would have some sort of realization ke, oh, ye galat hai, ya there must be some sort of correlation. Acha, another thing which I wanted to ask you about is, naturally there's a big disparity between people who are educated and people who are not educated or don't have the credentials, or don't have the opportunity to go study abroad. So the WLA or any other sort of system in Czech, are they educating these women, not just in law, just in general around Pakistan, about their rights? And I know there are, I'm sure, but I would just like some more detail about that from you.
okay, sure. So it's not a WLA project, so to speak, but what's happening is that I personally have gotten we sort of formed like a network of 4 or 5 women
Uh-huh.
lawyers, one from Peshawar, one from Quetta, one from Sambal, one from Lahore, And what we've done is that we are now sort of it started off with the Kahwa Khel Law Associate, so there's a lady called Zina in Tushar. It
Mhm.
was her idea, and then we sort of got on board. What we're doing, especially rights, more than education. I mean, this is one aspect, but it is about a nikah, the right of a woman on her nikah now, which is something
Okay.
that is
Which people
very
overlook. Yeah. Okay.
it's
Yeah.
very close to my heart because the amount of cases that I have dealt with and the amount of women who I have seen literally sit and cry over their rights, not them not getting any rights, not getting any alimony. I know
Uh-huh.
my law में नहीं है, but alimony in terms of हक महर हो गया, in
Yeah.
terms
Yeah.
of
The document comes with it cancelled out.
tax, right?
Yeah.
And then and the fact is, and the truth of the matter is, which a lot of people don't know, कि जब एक औरत को उसका हक उनका हक मिलता है divorce का, the right of divorce is she can use the husband's right to divorce herself.
Yeah. 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 Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
not कि वो उनका फिर ही हक है. But anyway, not the and the issues I have with that, but ये है कि this is one sort of project that we started. उसमें ये है कि हर language में
Hmm.
निकाहनामा को एक्सप्लेन किया जाएगा. उस पे
Hmm.
सेकंड पेज जहाँ आपकी हक जो हकूक है
Hmm.
औरतों के वो will be we will sort of speak about that, elaborate on exactly what can be written on the second page and how,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And basically just telling a woman of her rights, only of course restricted to the Nikah, but
Hmm.
that's still a start. So इसमें है as I said Saraiki, Balochi,
Yeah. Yeah.
गिलगित बल्तिस्तान जो बल्ती है लैंग्वेज वहाँ पर
Hmm.
वहाँ वो लैंग्वेज बोली जाती है बट जो भी ऐसा नेम मी मतलब any language you think of we are trying to translate this and make
All
it
right.
into a ताकि वो awareness हो. अच्छा उसके अलावा ये है कि I again this it's not a project of any association.
Hmm.
I do a lot of pro bono work. I do a lot of
Okay.
family law work especially. And not because I have a predominantly family law practice, but because I feel that that is where you need someone more.
Yeah.
Our,
For sure.
right? So especially divorce, pola, custody, guardianship,
Hmm.
there are times people don't have enough money, and especially with clients or ladies who are in bad abusive relationships, who have domestic violence cases, who have ready domestic violence cases to be filed, but they don't know how to go about it.
Yeah.
उस तरीके चीज के लिए I try and facilitate a lot of women who can't afford, or especially those who need to file for full, etc. उसके अलावा what we're also doing is we're trying to get an awareness program made. So वो program भी is in the works of what of women's rights basically apart from the nikahnaमा कि उनको क्या हकूक हैं, how can they stand up for themselves, violence हो गया, abuse हो
Yeah.
गया.
Yeah.
So these are programs which are now in the making. I won't
Hmm.
say there's something which is out there right now, but we're
Hmm.
trying. We're trying our best. I mean, for example, हमारी जो law में है, it's not awareness so much, but हमारे law में and the family ordinance, Muslim family ordinance, we there is no such thing as maintenance after divorce,
Yeah.
right? अगर if a lady has filed for Fura, she does not get she does not get the haq meher, right? By law.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And by Sharia. And if she's being divorced, then she gets a haq meher. अब वो हक मेहर 5,000 रुपए से भी हो सकता है या 50,000 रुपए हो सकता है. Maybe लाखों में जा सकता है, but very few people do that.
Yeah.
Even in family जैसे कि आप divorce का क्यों सोच रहे हैं, हक मेहर तो इतना ही रखें, कम रखें.
But
They don't.
isn't there supposed to be a maintenance for the iddat period?
So that's what I'm saying. I'm coming back.
Uh-huh.
This
Okay.
haq meher भी जाए. This period is 90 days.
Yeah.
90 days, if you go to court, a lot of men don't want to give that also, right? अगर
Mm-hmm.
वो आप कोर्ट भी जाएंगे, आपको कितना मिल जाएगा? 15,000 रुपए 3 महीना,
Mm-hmm.
20,000 only for the lady. I'm not talking about any children or
Yeah. Yeah.
anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, when it comes to that, if a woman now think of it in this way: 40 years of marriage,
Mm-hmm.
husband been cheating on her, divorces her to marry the hired hand. What
Mm-hmm.
happens then? She's never worked in her life. I'm giving
No.
you this example. She's not very educated. Her whole life is revolved around her husband. Then
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry. So yeah. So then what happens? That's it. She is a lost. She's on her own. This happened in front of me. This lady had to go to a panagar at 3 a.m. in the morning because she
Okay.
had no. Her parents had passed away. She had no marital
Mm-hmm.
property. So what we're doing now is, and I'm this, as I said,
something that's very close to my heart. We are trying to, well, I've done a lot of research. I've made teams to conduct research. And we are going to draft legislation now, inshallah. Not for alimony so much of marital property, but in a way to say that a woman should be given a certain percentage after she is divorced or she has been granted khula for her to at least get on her feet. I'm not
Yeah.
saying someone will not be supported for the rest of her life. I
Uh,
understand the marriages are just one watching and whatever it may be. It's not always the man's fault. I even understand that. But we have to have some sort of platform for women to be supported in.
all right. So on Instagram, you mentioned when we were talking that you could talk about the legislation. That's the legislation in question. All right, cool. So I got to it myself. I didn't even, because in my notes I've written legislation you're working on question mark. Chala, good. It came up naturally. Um, yeah. So just to sort of close things off, what are some of the changes which you'd like to see in the legal profession itself, if any?
No, of course. There's always room for improvement. I feel
Mm-hmm.
it just like more representation of women in the bar association is something that I really like to see.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see a lot more women standing up and arguing. I would love to see employers give them that chance and opportunity. Apart from that, also to give them that confidence, so to boost their morale and to tell them that you're doing well, and
Yeah.
not to say they're not worth anything. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there are lots of women who, as I said, have they may not have studied abroad, but they're very smart. They've studied from here. They've done well for themselves. They just need that opportunity, to
Mm-hmm.
argue a case, to be given that confidence. And I think that is
Yeah.
big.
There needs to be some sort of trust. Okay,
Absolutely.
she'll do a good job.
Yeah. I feel integration is great. It's become much better than before. There's
Yeah,
again
for sure.
room for it to like improve and for it to progress. We are, I feel, in a very progressive thinking bar, if you want to call it that, if
Mm-hmm.
I call all our lawyers part of which we are. But I feel that, there's even more room, and I think that we should sort of join hands and say, okay, or even if it's with the WLA or any other organization for women, to work with women development, and why not? I mean, we work towards so many other things.
Mm-hmm.
To be safe, a court should also be a safe space for a woman.
Mm-hmm.
She should not have to be stared at by the people. She should not feel uncomfortable coming in there. People are at the moment, as I said, it's progress, it's much better, but I feel that, why not? Well, why not put it down saying that there should be no harassment? Have it in the court.
Mm-hmm.
Open. So that would be great.
All right, that sounds good. Should we wrap it up? Is there anything which you would like to say?
That's it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. You're one of the first few people I approached, and you're like, yeah, sure. And I was like, cool. It's going well so far.
I'm glad.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for coming on. It was entirely my pleasure. I learned a lot. I'm gonna stop the recording and then we're gonna do the recap. Cool.
Sure.